Hi everybody, welcome on my YouTube channel and welcome being with me and my musings about Bach's Art of Fugue. Hopefully you feel well and happy while starting this third episode. Again, we have so much to talk about that I probably should divide the stuff in different videos. And it's warm outside, and so additionally to my coffee, which is here as well, I have found a grape juice in fridge. So please make yourself comfortable as well, and let's go ahead talking about Bach's Art of Fugue. The last episode left us back with a huge triple-fugue built up from the fragment. Hope you've liked it so far. However, we had to pay our fee for our wonderful triple-fugue geometry while running into a massive problem. There is no further material left from Bach's own hand. And to use a saying from Germany, that's a really great elephant in this room. So, what may you expect in this episode? Well, of course, we can impossibly ignore this elephant, and I would be happy if I could avoid this state. But as long as no unknown and forgotten autograph appears somewhere in the world, we have at least three possibilities. First, leaving the fragment and the Art of Fugue as it is, with Bach's material only. Second, we may complete the fragment as a quadruple fugue and cornerstone, as most authors suggest. And third, we may complete the fragment as something else, and being then without any further material from Bach's hand. Today we will meet an author with a suggestion for avoiding this last scenario. Regrettably, he pays his fee in other currency, as we will see soon. I'm talking about Hans-Jörg Rechtsteiner, who published in 1995 as part of Europäische Hochschulschriften. I have no further information about him, so I may not tell anything according to his person. But I may give you his version from the Art of Fugue's layout on a glance. Rechtsteiner spreads the canons between the double and triple fugues, and he does so in motu contrario, means the augmentation canon first and then the other three canons in descending order of compositorial complexity. Okay, in consequence, and here in graphics, he rips apart the canons as a group, as well as he rips apart the multi-thematic fugues as a group. In further consequence, he destroys the order of ascending contrapuntal complexity. Both aspects, the groups and the ascending complexity, are accepted as going back to Bach himself by most musicological researchers. For details, please refer the previous episode of our video series. Okay, but what does Rechtsteiner gain instead? Well, he gets two weight and structure symmetrical halves from exactly 1111 bars each, here and here. The fragment as a quadruple fugue is of course his concluding final, waiting with its four themes, the opening four single thematic fugues. And as you may see here, the fee Rechtsteiner has to pay is a complete new order of central parts from Bach's entire architecture. His very alternative approach has two motivations. One is, as you may guess even already now, an extended use of calculations with bars and symmetries. I let this entire part out for now. That's about 3/4 of his essay. However, Rechtsteiner's interventions are grave, and they can impossibly be done without adequate sources in Bach's autographs. And indeed, his other motivation, leading him to his new ideal plan, as he said, his other motivation is philologically based. Rechtsteiner refers to a detail in Appendix 1 from Bach's autograph of Art of Fugue, which is archived under the key P200 in the Berliner Staatsbibliothek. Well, if you do not know about the sources, again, please feel free returning to our last episode. In the first 10 minutes, I've summed up what we have here. Okay, inside this P200 archive, we find our 3 appendices. The first one contains the augmentation canon on 3 pages. And this is Rechtsteiner's most important source for changing the whole architecture of BWV 1018. Well, indeed, it's not the canon itself, but Rechtsteiner refers to the pagination. Only this becomes his central and inner philological cornerstone on which Rechtsteiner's castle of numbers is founded. I have a facsimile reprint here. I may show what Rechtsteiner is talking about here. This is Appendix 1 in this here. I hope you see it in the display in the three pages. And here over there, you have the pagination. And on the second page, there is something scratched out. These 3 numbers, a 26, probably a 27, whereby the first digit is scratched out there, and the 28. And Rechtsteiner interprets these as a late pagination correction which Bach had sent to editor Schübler nach Celle. In this case, the augmentation canon in printed edition would appear on page 26. This is the position behind the first Triple-Fugue in 3 voices, contrapunctus 8. And I have here the facsimile from the first printed edition as well. So I can show here. Well, hopefully you see it here. I'll give it in the background later on. But this here, this is page 26 in first edition, and this is the first double fugue. And here on the other side, you have the last bars from the Triple-Fugue contrapunctus 8. So, and Rechtsteiner presumes from this new pagination, instead of the double fugue, the augmentation canon. Remember my central question about rating the material. What do you think? Are these 3 digits enough for throwing apart a century of Bach research? Indeed, such a few amount of material That has been my first idea and impression. And even Rechtsteiner himself mentions the small size of writing samples while discussing the chronological aspects of the two paginations on page 27 of his essay. Which one came first? The numbers on the page bottom or the numbers on page header? Without knowledge of Bach's workflow, of course, who should have? Also without knowledge of Bach's workflow, Rechtsteiner assumes the correction on the printing templates and the paginations fell together. And his citation, diplomatic clues for relative dating of pagination from Appendix 1. Well, all this can be found on the pages 26 and 27 from Rechtsteiner's essay. Okay, which information has which severity? On page 33, Rechtsteiner concludes that the first appendix is the only documentary testimony from Bach's hand with an immediate relation to the first printed edition. Yeah, and so, in Rechtsteiner's world, this Appendix 1, these 3 papers there, they have an extraordinary range in all hierarchy of sources. Really so? On the way to his strict statement, Rechtsteiner assumes he has diplomatic clues. His derivation is grammatically full of subjunctives. Why should those assumptions, and nothing more, assumptions, get more weight than the necrologue as a contemporary source, which has been printed for public world and which is open to view since 1751? Is Rechtsteiner right? I have my difficulties giving such a tiny detail, such a severe evidence. Rechtsteiner obviously understands this too, so he gives further hints. Editor Schübler, if he received Bach's order, should have let us clues, Rechtsteiner asks. And he has a response here from original edition, from the first print, which contains the augmentation canon. Page 40. So this one, page 49. So contains the middle page from the augmentation canon. And there is on the above right corner here, there is a little tiny 27. You see it? That's right, here, da. You've got it? No? Right, I go a bit closer here. And so, this one. No? You don't see it? Well, yeah. That's the actual state as well. There is nothing to see here in my source. That does not mean Rechtsteiner has invented something. No. His essay here, I have it right here, his essay gives an impressive list of original sources he has compared. And I can't keep up here. I have only my facsimile edition, and only from that I may neither verify nor falsify his result. That's all. From here I have. On page 21, Rechtsteiner notes that he had to do all his discussion without any illustration. Here in German, the parallele Benutzung of facsimile Ausgabe and other sources empfiehlt sich zur bildlichen Veranschaulichung der nachfolgenden Ausführung dieses Kapitels, da auf eigene Abbildungen verzichtet werden muss. Yes, what a pity, so sad, as exactly those illustrations would be helpful in our case. But so my answer here in consequence, I cannot decide if Bach gave order to Seller about putting the augmentation canon behind contrapunctus 8 and before the first double fugue contrapunctus 9. One more thing. Have another look on the handwritten page here. This one. Referring to Yoshitake Kobayashi, another Bach researcher, referring to him is that Bach's handwriting here, this one, is the correcting handwriting of the late Bach. And again, Rechtsteiner mentioned this on page 27 of his essay. But again, here, my very first idea has been, is this really the digit 2? Yeah, then I forgot about that, but I forgot not complete. And sometimes I compared these digit 2 here with other handwritten 2s from Bach's hand. Well, in 1730, Bach wrote to Leipziger authorities his, in German, kurzen, jedoch höchst nötigen Entwurf einer wohlbestallten Kirchenmusik. And funny enough, and randomly, I have even this document in a facsimile edition here. So, we ignore the content here complete. Our focus is on Bach's handwriting only. This kurzer Entwurf contains tabular listings with lots of tools. Here you may see it. Hopefully, this there are all tools here down there. Okay, here you have a photo from this. It's a bit easier than this camera thing here. Okay, you may see, you may hide the upper hook from the 2 here, from the digit, and gets a similar sign as in our Appendix 1. But this is a rarity that Bach, I think, forgets his upper hook. Okay, from 1730 until Art of Fugue, we have 10 until 15 years, and handwriting may have changed. But here, I have no facsimile from B minor Mass, but I have a digital version. Here in Symbolum manuscript, we'll find the same 2, digit 2 again, like in Entwurf from 1730. The instrumental listing of BWV 232 from the Kyrie shows digits without this upper hook. But again, they are rare. But even here, the shape is more like a number 2 than this sign here in Appendix 1. Okay, I'm here with questions, I told. And here, in this special case, I have an answer. But I'm absolutely not disappointed if my answer is simply nonsense. I am absolutely no expert for scriptures and handwriting. Nevertheless, simply my question might have its sense, and I share both with you, question and answer. First the question, may this handwritten sign in Appendix 1 could mean something alternative than the digit 2? And my idea or answer, eventually it could be a small letter C in German Kurrentschrift. Here you see examples from Bach's hand, again from Entwurf einer wohlbestallten Kirchenmusik, or from header in Messy B minor. The Kurrentschrift, the small written C, generally never appears in the beginning of a word, but here in Appendix 1 we have no valid text at all, but we have a symbol set for pagination. So in our case, one obvious meaning from our hypothetical C could be the abbreviation for canon. And going back to the first printed edition, we'll find the augmentation canon in first position from all canons. If you drop this canon from there, the set of further canons fill 5.5 pages. And on the 6th page then we have place for the next movement. The 6th canon page, and this C6 here, also hypothetical C6 here in Appendix 1. Yes, I think you catch my idea. And please, that's indeed just this, an idea, nothing more. And yes, this might be untenable if we taking more documentary sources in account. Again, mainly I'm here with questions, and so I ask the musical world out there, what do you think? Is the interpretation of these Appendix 1 here, is this interpretation from this digit reason enough to throw everything apart what Bach obviously created and built up? If Rechtsteiner is right, then Bach has changed his mind. Did he? Well, yes, Bach absolutely changed his mind. The Art of Fugue in its first version was finished in 1764. This version was the base for Bach's extensions, which ended up with the enigmatic unfinished second version we are talking here all about, and which has a very extended ground plan. The ground plan, come shortly back to this in a minute, but referring Rechtsteiner, Bach should have even discarded this second version again, and this in an absolute progressed state of his work. How likely is that? And if Bach should have intended such a complete, newly designed central part of Art of Fugue, he probably should have had some clearer hints to Schübler as his 3 poor pagination digits. And additionally, this means for Schübler that he had to rebuild the pagination of all printed plates starting from page 27. Rechtsteiner goes one further step in his essay on page 30. Rechtsteiner may not exclude that Bach had intended a complete change of even and odd pages, even if the content of the pages still remains. How much work does that mean in 18th century? Rechtsteiner thought the same, obviously, and gave an answer. Such a change of pagination would be possible without technical difficulties, he explains on 31. Maybe he is right. I am not such as deep inside the printing process in 18th century. What with the probably original pagination of the page bottom of Appendix 1. It starts with page 33. And yes, in Bach's autograph, the augmentation canon in its unsalved one-voice version has its place on page 33, you may guess. Randomly, I have even this in facsimile edition. And yes, here I'm not sure if you may read the pagination there. This is 32. Here we have 33. And if I go ahead here, so far I may see, this is the augmentation canon in one voice version. And the reason for Bach, if I compare this both, this facsimile and the Appendix 1, the reason why Bach had rewritten this canon again as an appendix is obvious. All note values are augmented, are doubled in the appendix. This may be a further trace here to the enigmatic note in Appendix 3. Appendix 3, you remember, this is a fragment we are talking about, all about. The fifth page here, and this is the fifth page with the unfinished and Bach left us. And on the other side here, we have this enigmatic note. Hopefully you may read it here. We have the enigmatic note, probably from Agricola's hand, und einen anderen Grundplan. Here the ground plan. I told you that I will falling back to it. Is this half sentence a key to a new order of the entire Art of Fugue? Maybe in the sense Rechtsteiner has in mind with this new plan. Peter Schleuning, the other author here, suggests in his book, also there on page 177, possibly completion of this half sentence note. And this could be comparing to autograph of passed by Bach. Be careful, because he has other note values and, yes, another ground plan, Grund Plan. Yeah. And yes, indeed, the second version of Art of Fugue indeed has another ground plan. Yes, with new written contrapunctus 4, with 3 additional canons, and yes, with the fragment, of course. And once more, dear brother William, do we really need a further rebuild from Art of Fugue? Also after this Bach's complete rebuild, do we really need a new build after that? This time grounding on 3 single and lonely page numbers. Also if these page numbers, if these signs are numbers at all. Again, is there anything more we should include in our discussion? And if not, how would you rate these sources out there? Would you agree to Rechtsteiner that the appendix has an extraordinary range in all hierarchy of sources, as Rechtsteiner writes? I don't know. For me, my answer is no, but please, open. And just before finishing for today, Rechtsteiner, of course, discards Butler's results. Remember, great Butler put simply 6 empty pages between the mirror fugues and the octave canon as a placeholder for the fragment, which then is added up to 6 pages. And please again, details in the last video. Rechtsteiner reflects Butler's publication on page 25-26 here. And indeed, on German language, die 7 von mir überprüften Exemplare des Originaldrucks weisen an der fraglichen Stelle, Seite 48, page 48, Ecke oben links tatsächlich mehr oder minder deutliche Rasurspuren auf. Also he indeed finds scratchings on page 48, left side above in first edition. I'll show you. This is here, my print. This is page 48, and then on left side here, there are scratchings, and I go closer to camera. Hopefully you see something. This one. May you recognize something? Yes. Also, I see shadows, nothing more. And Rechtsteiner continues, he is not able of deciphering any deleted text structure, even with technical methods, as he explained. So, and consequently, Butler's approach in Rechtsteiner's world and view of things is fallacious. Literally, he wrote there. And yeah, I've showed you what I have here. There is a kind of shadow, nothing more. So once again, I may neither verify nor falsify Butler's source. But as other musicologists agree with Butler, so he is from document side until now not refuted, as far as I know. And as far as I see it, these only 3 written digits are much too few material and no basis. Throwing everything overboard was what Bach had created. My opinion so far. And the question should be allowed if these signs are indeed numbers. If my, guessed only and technical completely unsupported interpretation, also my interpretation has a small letter C in Kurrentschrift plus a digit. If this interpretation is wrong, can we then from the sources exclude that the symbol is at least something else than the digit 2? So, if Rechtsteiner's alternative plan fails in its philological base, we are back meeting our elephant in the room again. After placing our fragment in Butler's suggested place as a triple-fugue, we have no more material from Bach at all. That's the state in last video. As much as I would like to get rid of this problem, the philological sources for the fragment intended as a triple-fugue, and Butler's results included here, seem in my eyes much stronger than any alternative. What do you think? Please, I'm open-minded, but I need sources. Again, sources and facsimiles. I think we should come to an end. So, in the introduction of this video, I told you that I ignore 3/4 of Rechtsteiner's essay. Well, in these 3/4, his text feels as a tutorial for calculations with amount identities of bars and or amount similarities of bars. And finally, Rechtsteiner ends up with a, of course, mandatory 372 bar size for the entire fragment. And without these exactly 272 bars, his castle of numbers simply would dissolve into thin air. And yes, if this weird 372 reminds you to the anime inside our opening episode, Rechtsteiner is probably the source for Thomas Daniels Vervollständigung. But that's stuff for later. I'm pretty sure that all these cute numberings may stay healthy and happy while waiting for us until the next appointment, right? Okay, seriously, you will have noticed so by now that I don't think much of this whole number stuff. Nearly all its results are, if not from Bach himself, yes, but in my eyes, in a range of 98%, end up simply meaningless. And as a teaser, next episode, I'll give you a kind of mathematical reason for that. That will take not too much time. So afterwards, then next episode, I like taking you to a much more creative and joyful part. We start designing a proportional layout for a quadruple fugue as far as we can on the base Bach had left us. Okay? Impossible, I hear you say. Our elephant, Thomas, you forgotten? That's complete arbitrariness, as Bach left no single note at all. No notes from Bach, yes, that's so sad as it is regrettably right. Yes, of course, our friendly elephant over there. But see, every elephant lives in his environment. And guess, who is the creator of the environment from our very special friendly elephant over here? Ach ja, and finally, and just for fun, and of course beyond every source, let's play a bit around with our synthesizers. So a little music and recreation at the end, and yeah, that's for now. Thanks for being with me here. Have a nice time, stay healthy, all the best for everybody out there, and if you like, we'll meet us next episode. Bye bye.